When you were languishing in rooms I put the value in. When the wind set down in funnel form and pulled you in. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. When the ghostly dust of violence faces everything. When the gas runs out, just wreck it and you insure the thing. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. But I can't sign out that you made the move. It has gone and gone to dogs. Lay down on the floor. For the right price I can get everything. Slip into the car, go driving to the farthest star. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk up in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in.
All right. Well, thank you, Cartoon Network. Stop screen. Thank you. Whoa. Whoa, too close to the camera, dude. All right. Yeah. So I decided to come on. I was supposed to broadcast. If any of you are here are actually regular watchers, you know that I said I was going to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 a.m. That's proven impossible. I'm supposed to take today off and the weekend off. It's just not feasible to do it during the week, and especially not Monday through Friday, like every day or nearly every day. It's just impossible. So we're going to go back to doing Sundays. Yeah, we just try to be consistent doing every Sunday. I try to actually bring content on Sunday. And maybe one day during the week to get 2 days spread out through your 7-day week there. So we can just stay in touch with our few remaining friends out there. Our smaller, ever smaller audience is ever more exclusive. We are the cool kids. Remember that. And that's what I came on to say. That's it. I mean, that's all I got, really. And I hope to get out of this place soon and settle into a place where I will remain for at least a couple of years before I turn it into a rental property. That's what old guys do. We have rental properties and we spread them out, collect the rent. We show up once a week and do the yard, Alas, that is my fate. Anyway, we will share a little bit of content here. I want to talk about the absolute void, the center, not just in the White House, But in American government, you realize when you consider it that there is not just an absence of an executive presence. We don't have a president. We haven't had a meaningful president since Biden took office. And now it's even less the case, or rather, at least now we all know, and at least now even the normies can no longer avoid it. I mean, they will, but it's just going to take ever greater effort on the part of your boomer parents and others to deny what's happening. That, there's no leadership in the White House. It's not clear who's running things. I don't believe Obama's running things. I think that's kind of stupid to think that Obama's running things. I don't think Obama's ever been a genuine heavyweight. When he was in office, he had some independence, you saw. But it was evident also, even when he was in office, and he was a political guy through and through, had his own ideas, at least regarding domestic policy. It was pretty obvious he surrendered foreign policy. I mean, there was no genuine interest on Obama's part on the Syrian war, which the Libyan chaos, which all started or were nurtured on his watch. He had no interest in Zionist foreign policy, but he totally gave up to it to try and get his domestic agenda through, which, of course, was a disaster. I don't know. I didn't even know about Obamacare. I hate the issue of health care. I want to shoot myself in the head when people start going into healthcare, even though I fully understand it's about as important a thing as you can, about as important an issue as there is in politics. But, you're talking about fucking co-pays and shit. I'm like, God damn it. I would shoot myself in the head, but I think I want to shoot you first, asshole. Shut the fuck up. I say that totally understanding my position is irrational and childish and everything else. I'm just saying. And, of course, Obama's other big foreign domestic policy goal was, hey, Tom, are we getting through? Yeah, he's an empty vessel. But his other domestic goal was, of course, BLM, and he realized that to our disaster. I used to like to tell people that the George W. Bush administration, and there's another empty vessel to be sure, right, was a pretty successful administration, judging by its goals, but judging by the goals of the people who put him in there. They had three big initiatives: war with Iraq, a major overhaul of immigration that was going to open the doors wide open, and tax cuts. And he got 2 out of 3. And he only didn't get the immigration thing because people, it's a long time ago now, isn't it? 2008, he left office. He only didn't get the immigration thing because, regular people just don't want it, as you see. And we haven't wanted it. I started blogging around 2006, in part because of it. It was something I never thought about. Another one of the many things I didn't want to think about was immigration. I didn't even know. Before around 2005 or so, when we got George W. Bush and we started seeing what a fucking joke what an utterly malicious scam the whole process is, then I suddenly, started thinking, I think I'm against all this immigration craziness. And I actually started blogging. That's how I got tangled up with Steve Saylor and that whole circle. I became a regular contributor, kind of, to his blog, because he would post my stuff every couple of weeks at least. And those were simpler times, modest times when things were a lot easier. We lost Steve, or apparently he decided he's just going to stay put right there. He's still talking about immigration and, football quarterback rankings. And the rest of us have moved on. Yeah. Hi, Tom Anderson. He says, it's definitely not Obama. He's the definition. Yeah, it's not. It's not. He's got a lot of influence with the Democratic Party. He's still, a heavy hitter within the Democratic Party. He has a lot of influence because he could just, it's inevitable. He could just go give a speech and influence the thinking of that vast zombie army of normie Democrats who think that he's this, this august intellectual heavyweight. He never was, and he was always kind of lazy for a politician. The only reason we got Obama more for the forces, this cucky racial shit that comes out of the Democratic Party, right? I mean, it was insane that it took that long for them to find a black guy that they could push right into the presidency with the attitude we've had. I've been around a long time, guys, and this propensity to try and mollify black people by finding and promoting people like Obama has been with us for a long, long time. It's just the paucity of talent among this group of Americans. I'm sorry, black people. You've got your talents, You got your dancing and entertainment and sports. But it just, Obama actually showed us just how thin the bench is regarding black intellectual talent, black leadership talent, that this guy could get up and just start spouting platitudes and people would swoon. Anyway, yeah, he's got some sway in the Democratic Party, so he has that influence, but he's not, the big donors are the guys. I mean, you try to unravel, who's in charge, right? Especially now with, it's obviously not Biden, and it's obviously not going to be Kamala, who has a great chance of winning. It's the people who are orchestrating this amazing propaganda push, right? Nobody wanted Kamala. I think even the people in power, the real power, didn't really want her. But Kamala, like an Obama, like somebody else, they have their measure of power. They have people around them who are promoting them because they know they can control them. And they are one faction in this ball of confusion, right? I mean, when I talk about people behind the scenes being in power, I do not believe anyone has anything like absolute power, But there are levels to this shit, as they say. And there are, and ultimately who's in charge is the people who throw the money around. And those people are generally who, and they generally affect their power through the media that they control. As you saw with Kamala Harris getting a remarkable bump for somebody who's so disliked, so shallow, and so obviously unqualified for the job, right? But just this sudden, remarkably quick, it's kind of, it should be a model of efficiency, how the media, the mainstream media, turns on a dime and gets in line, right? And they're like, it's like watching, what are they, starlings, or what are those birds that move in these great big flocks, and they, and they all turn together, right? It's like that, and it should be studied. How remarkable that effect is, because it's not just that somebody on high gives out the word. It can't be that crude and simple and obvious. They just have to seed they seed the environment. I guess it's maybe not that interesting. It's just that, these people are such zombies. They're such NPCs. Some of the very high up people in media, the Rachel Maddows and others, are at least partly true believers, right? And they are extremely easily influenced by, look how quickly the weird theme got up and running, right? Somebody somewhere says weird regarding J.D. Vance. And he is kind of weird. And one of you guys here called it. I didn't notice, but somebody here called it. He appears to be wearing eyeliner. That finally took hold. I noticed a couple of days ago in the mainstream media. I was thinking that after somebody pointed it out here, I'm thinking, my God, it sure looks like he is wearing eyeliner. There are guys do that. They want to make their eyes pop, but it looks fucking weird, guys. You look like a Satanist. And then I was worried when I heard that. I don't know why. I'm not really pro-Trump or pro-Vance at this point. But I thought, oh my God, they're going to catch on. I mean, look at it. I mean, you can't unsee it once somebody points it out, even if you weren't noticing. Yeah, it looks like he's wearing eyeliner. So they caught on with that, you know. And I'm just waiting for the conspiracy theorists to, you know, show me how that relates back to some old Masonic practice or something. An idea to which I am open, by the way. Again, no, Obama's not running things, and it's stupid, stupid, stupid. People seize on it because they have this anti-black attitude, you know, and I kind of crap on black America, at least politically, a lot here. But I also try to resist having malice, and I think there's a certain amount of malice that likes to think of Obama as being this thoroughly evil character. And I think he is about as close to evil as a politician can be because of BLM. People forget that shit started during the Obama's administration, before 2020. The machinery that would affect 2020, which was basically an insurrection, an intifada. The machinery was put in place on Obama's watch. He pulled a bait and switch on America by saying, hey man, you know, you vote for me and we're all going to hug and it's going to finally end this racism thing, right? And he gets in office, and what does he do? Him and Eric Holder did as much as two men could do to make sure that the racial problem in America will never go away. I mean, they ensured another generation of race hate. And they had kind of ensured that 2020, totally fabricated bullshit, non-grassroots thing in the first place, they sort of ensured that would happen. They tried to make it happen on their watch, remember. I think it was 2015. Was it 2015 when they were, you know, and you forget who, you know, it was Ferguson. Who was the guy in Ferguson who got killed? And it's always these bullshit cases. Ahmaud Arbery was supposed to be it, but, you know, somehow that didn't quite come off, you know. They had to get to George Floyd, right? They tried a bunch of people out, remember. It wasn't like George Floyd was that remarkable. But that one took off because Trump was in office, and that had driven everybody mad. And you know, for everyone who was behind that shit, remember, it was there everything with COVID, everything that was happening, especially late in the Trump administration, for everyone on the other side who got behind anything, the subtext was always Trump. How does this hurt Trump? How do we make this hurt Trump? That plus the footage of, you know, everybody's a pussy, footage of someone kneeling on George Floyd's giant totemic head, who was the poor guy, the poor cop. I don't know why you guys are all freaked out about that. You know, you never had your head bounced against a wall? I have. I've had people hit me so hard that my head smacked the wall. And that was my brother, I think. Yeah. Okay. Tom Anderson thinks it's Jeff Zients, who's the current Biden chief of staff. Yeah. Even if it's not like he's the anointed one, right? It's hard to imagine anyone having more power right now than the chief of staff, whoever he is. And he might be controlled by other people. He might be answering to other people at the end of the day, but he's essentially the president, I think, yeah. And it was Ron Klain, now it's Jeff Zients. They're running things. You know, it's not Obama. He's not a heavyweight. He doesn't throw that much money around. In fact, he's still in the position. It never was the Clintons either, as powerful as they are. And they were greater players it's probably remain greater players despite not being the ultimate power than Obama is now, because those guys are. I think one good sort of litmus test is: are these people in the position of seeking donations or giving donations? If you're paying out money, and these very smart billionaires don't dump money on people because they like them, and they don't dump money on people because they like their politics strictly. You know, the Koch brothers and Miriam Adelson aren't giving Donald Trump shit tons of money because they like him, right? Because they like his foreign policy or anything, really. They're single issue guys often. So it's not Obama. Forget Obama. And Michelle Obama does not have a penis. Please stop that. Please just fucking stop it. I mean, it's good fun to make fun of, poor Obama, such a skinny guy, and then this girl, she works out all the time, obviously. And she's got, admirably broad shoulders if you were a guy. But no, she doesn't have a big giant, you-know-what. Stop it. She's not a pole vaulter. Okay. Oh, thank you, Tom. Since you're here, we will raise your voice. It's most likely Zentz. I agree. At least in the White House, who's the most powerful guy in the White House? It's Zentz, right? Is he the most powerful guy in the nation, in the world? Maybe not. Yeah, people often overlook chiefs of staff. They're always super powerful, and who was Obama's chief of staff? I forget. Another Jewish guy, looked like a mortician. Remember this asshole? There's another guy who may have had more agency during the Obama years than Obama. What the hell? Why aren't you charging? My iPad isn't charging. Okay. It's plugged in, but it's not charging. How do we say Old Testament, maybe? Yes, it's the Old Testament, people. Right? We don't have like the Esthers, or is that Esther one of them? The Khazar milkers who infiltrate the powerful, the Persians or somebody, and then take over that way. We have other weirdness going on, but the zombie army is real. Look how they turned on Biden literally overnight after the medium told them. Yeah, no, I had a conversation with an old guy. I think he was about 70. Nicest couple I ever met, these people. And I didn't even, because I forget, if I relax around you, I'm always on my guard until, maybe you give me a beer or two. It doesn't take much now. Or we just relax, and then I forget that everybody's a zombie. I'm surrounded by zombies. At least regarding politics. So all of a sudden I'm talking about Biden. Yeah, hey guys, what about Biden? This was months ago, like 2 or 3 months ago. What's going on? When are they going to replace that guy? And the old dude is like, what? No. Oh, no. And he starts going through the talking points. And this is just a regular guy, not a political dude, just a retired guy, presumably. Retired, doing well. Didn't have a care in the world guy, boomer. He starts reciting the talking points. Well, he did this, and these stupid little things, and something with health care, and some other tax policy thing, and just the shit that no sane person wants to care about. This is the problem with democracy, too. The idea that regular people like us should be taking positions is idiotic. But no, he just starts listing this really sad and pathetic bullet point list that they've got out there about he's doing all this, and of course he's not doing any of it. Even excuse me, even a sentient president is not necessarily doing. They always have their bullet list of look at all these great things we're doing. Either these are events that are just occurring, like with the economy, as often as not, they don't really have they don't have a hand on the tiller regarding the economy, but they pretend they do. Their successes and often their failures are not really theirs, not really achievements, just stuff they get to claim because it's happening on their watch. He cites that, and he has, I had to flash back to think, I wonder what that old guy is thinking now. So we ended up in this conversation. It's so funny because I'm sitting around a table, well, with a family member who's like totally lost to the left side of the spectrum. And these two old folks who are kind of like right in the middle, genuinely in the middle, not really that liberal. That's why I guess my guard went down. And all of a sudden, we're having this great, vigorous conversation. And on one hand, one part of me loves it because until this happens, I'm sitting there a little bit guarded. It's a little uncomfortable. I'm sitting with people I don't know, and it's a little boring and dull. And, it's that awful thing that that is social interaction with strangers, right? But then all of a sudden we're having this freewheeling conversation, right? And it's a little, it's better. That goes away, and all of a sudden, oh wow, we're connecting even as we disagree. But that side of me is also conflicted because I hate that. And this is a big part of why I'll never be successful. I would never be a successful political person. I'll probably never be any good to doing this either because I just can't bear the idea that I'm alienating these poor dumb bastards. Rahm Emanuel, foul-mouthed dipshit Rahm Emanuel, was Obama's chief of staff, another Chicago guy and a Jewish guy who's his vulgarity is kind of romanticized, and I suspect his intellectual capacity is overestimated. I look at these guys and I'm not impressed. They must be doing something right when they actually get down to wheeling and dealing, but I don't see anything impressive. I guess that's why they're not the politicians. Hi, Jay. Yeah. The zombie army, and Tom says, are now being told to love Kamala, that she's such an amazing and capable person. They're internalizing that belief. Tom Anderson says, Pastor Jay, welcome. Are you a Pastor Jay? Pastor of what, sir? Al Pastor? All right. Okay, let's just quickly read something. This is from MondoWise. Michael Plitnick, president of Rethinking Foreign Policy, co-author with Mark Lamont Hill of Except for Palestine, The Limits of Progressive Politics. Yeah, so these progressive guys who are anti-Israel, this is what we're going to try and tackle Sunday, the ball of confusion, which we're in right now. We've been watching these anti-Gaza protests, and it's a bunch of pro-Palestinian people and a bunch of hard-left assholes and Arabs and others, right, who are not our friends, not for a moment. But I, for one, want to see them just hammer Israel. And any attack on the power of Israel over our foreign policy, any attack, any even sort of oblique, implied assault on the diaspora's power elsewhere is welcome. But of course, now we see what's happening in Britain. That sort of implied alliance is not a real alliance. It shouldn't be an alliance. We're not allied with these pro-Gaza assholes, even if we want to see them succeed somewhat. These are not our people. They need to go home. Fuck them. If there's a war on, you know what side I'm on, obviously. I think it was a huge mistake for the Brits to go after the mosques. It was, after all, not a Muslim. And they went after the mosques and they activated the Muslim army in Britain. From an accelerationist point of view, it's kind of a good thing because normies can't pretend anymore. The media's lies have to be even more glaringly lies as they try and pretend like nothing's happening. And as you see, and the normies must surely see, the police and the government are standing down and trying to ignore the mobs of Muslims taking to the streets. But it was a mistake because, for one thing, you're not going to beat them in a street battle. I'm sorry. They're still tougher. Plus, they've got the government and police on their side, so they get to arm themselves and go run rampant, very nearly completely rampant, while you, white Britain, are going to be, they're going to show up at your house if you post the wrong thing on Twitter. So it was a mistake to go directly after the Muslims. And also, it's not about Islam. It's not about Islam per se. It's about the Muslims themselves, particularly the young Muslims. And the worst aspect is not this so-called caliphate that's going to take over. The worst aspect is the degenerates, the rejected Muslims, the shithead bullies and dummies who happen to be Muslim, who take to the street and start rape gangs, and they do crime, and they're probably bullies in school. They're probably running the prisons now because their numbers are so great. And that's directly the problem, and that's directly the people you need to fight. I think Islam would be awesome, contained to its own nations, obviously. My own crackpot theory is that Islam is the answer for Muslims. It's not the answer for us. We need a different answer. But for Muslims, it's the answer to their own, stupidity and everything else, and their own, their own lively nature. Tom Anderson says, I can't even handle watching the Olympic. Where's my stunningly beautiful world-class athlete girlfriend from the Netherlands? Yeah, they're so awesome. Jay Walker says, strange times in England. Yeah, Tom Anderson says, they're not our friends and they need to go home, but we need all the help we can in the struggle against you-know-who. Yeah. Here's where our attitude should simply be, we plan on, damn it, what the fuck? Why are you not charging? Sorry, guys. This is so wrong that this thing's not charging. I'm going to take a moment to plug that in a second. Yeah, our attitude needs to be like our enemy's attitude is that we're going to use these people. Look how they use us. And then we're going to betray the fuck out of them. Right? That's what our attitude needs to be. All for us, nothing for others, right? And I don't really feel that once we say if we somehow manage to get these people out of our country, something I don't expect to happen, get these people out of our country and reclaim our own culture and nations, then I'm all for, Islam thriving in Islamic countries and even you-know-who, if they, I don't think they're incorrigible. They're never going to be, because their religion is world domination, as you see. But even if somehow we could get them in their own country and to stop being assholes, just don't be dicks, man, okay? That's the ideal world. I don't want to run the world. I don't think, running the world is a bad idea. Who would want it? Who would want such a thing? And the Anglos are guilty. We're guilty of assuming we were running the world. We actually came closest. In a sense, we kind of succeeded in establishing the order for the world. It was that Carroll Quigley's idea of an Anglo-American global empire, really. But it would be, as you see, it would be a disastrous thing. I don't want the world to adopt Western values. They suck, especially for them. They're poison to us. They're more poisonous and more toxic to other people. And you see, Islam has an answer to transgender mania, to gay insanity, right? I suspect the Chinese do. I don't know enough about what constitutes a Chinese religious culture now, if they even can be said to have one, right? But I don't know how well outfitted they are to resist it, right? I know that there are, Eastern European, there's the Orthodox world, which is trying and might succeed. And again, this all boils down to biology at the end of the day, just like this thing with Islam. It boils down to biology. The most racist thing in the world is that we are different species in a sense, and we will behave, and we will produce different cultures and societies and religions, and those religions and cultures that we produce are the best fit for us, obviously. Nobody wants to say that. All right, so let's read this Jewish progressive in Mondoweiss. In the space of mere hours, Israel killed the lead Hamas ceasefire negotiator, Ismail Haniyeh. It's striking, too. Who did they kill? Haniyeh is the guy who's trying to negotiate a ceasefire. Is it any more obvious that Israel wants nothing to do with a ceasefire, with peace? They want to keep going, and they want to ethnically cleanse Gaza, for starters. In the space of mere hours, Israel killed the lead Hamas ceasefire negotiator, Ismail Haniyeh, assassinated one of the most senior figures in Hezbollah, Fuad Shukr, saw citizens, including Knesset members and at least one government minister, riot for their quote-unquote right to rape Palestinian prisoners, and announced that it had killed the head of Hamas's Izzeddin al-Qassam brigades, Mohammed Deif, earlier this month, a claim Hamas neither confirmed nor denied. Excuse me. And I think the killing of Fuad Shukr was a canny move on Israel's part, because this appears to be the guy who's responsible for the Beirut bombing in the 80s. And killing him, I think, makes it more difficult on our side to criticize this, right? That gives one more weapon to this pro-Zionist people here who can mention, if we criticize these actions, they're going to be like, what? You approve of this Shukr guy who killed several hundred Marines in a barracks bombing in Beirut? That's a lot of events. In their wake, the world waited to see how the United States would react. Washington's silence in response to these actions has been deafening, and it does not speak well of the American position in the region or its own policy decisions. Sorry. Neither President Joe Biden nor Vice President and presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris have commented on these events. What we have heard from administration officials offers little hindsight into their real reactions. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken seemed caught off guard when asked about the assassination of Haniyeh. This is something we were not aware of or involved in. It's very hard to speculate, was Blinken's response. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin gave a token response, because he's a token, about the United States being ready to defend Israel, while White House spokesperson John Kirby came closest to criticism, saying, quote, "These reports over the last 48 hours certainly don't help with the temperature going down. We're obviously concerned about escalation," unquote. On Friday, the United States began moving naval and Air Force resources closer to Israel. This is our most telling response, right? Whatever we say, we're moving forces in place to get ready to back them up. This should not be happening. This would be anyway. In an effort to contain a major escalation when the response from Iran, Hezbollah, Ansar Allah, and other groups in the region hits Israel, as everyone expects. Clearly, the more effective way to avoid escalation, by cutting arms shipments to Israel and stopping it once and for all from pursuing its endless course of reckless actions through the region, is off the table, which is no less than anyone would have expected. While Kirby included the strike in Lebanon that killed Fuad Shukr in his critique, it is unlikely that Shukr's killing and Haniyeh's elicited the same response in Washington. Fuad Shukr, Shukr, was a leader in Hezbollah from the first days of that group. As a young man, Shukr was involved in both the planning and execution of the bombing of a barracks in Beirut in 1983, housing foreign soldiers, killing 241 American and 58 French troops. That attack would put Hezbollah on the map and made Shuker a wanted man for the United States. His killing, therefore, must have come as welcome news in Washington, even if they might have been concerned that it might escalate the fighting along Israel's northern border. So sorry. The timing of the strike on Beirut and the bombing of Hanea's hotel room in Tehran suggests that these were coordinated actions. Again, another assassination in Iran. Although the United States may have been made aware of only one, both, or neither. Yeah, Israel doesn't even need to tell us. We don't know. I guess we don't want anybody to know if we're getting heads up regarding these assassinations. But it's also true that Israel doesn't even have to tell us. They know they can act with impunity. And those weapons are still going to come. The money's still going to come. And as you see, the task force will roll up in the Gulf if they stir the pot too much. Fuck these people, man. Just fuck them. The exchange marked the first major escalation in nearly 6 months since the Iraqi government had called for the resistance. Oh, wait a minute. This should not suggest, however, that U.S. actions were not indirectly involved in Israel's decision to carry out these assassinations. On Wednesday, the U.S. launched air attacks on militants with the Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq, in response to attacks the previous weekend and the day before on Iraqi bases where U.S. soldiers are stationed. Why they're there, I don't fucking know. The exchange marked the first major escalation in nearly 6 months since the Iraqi government had called for the resistance groups to de-escalate their attacks on American targets in Iraq. Yeah, you wonder who's really in charge of those guys. Iraqi Hezbollah, whatever that means, right? Iraq's prime minister responded to the latest American action by renewing his demand that the U.S. leave Iraqi soil. So we're there against the wishes of their government and, of course, certainly against the wishes of the population. A demand that has been repeatedly made and repeatedly ignored by Washington. Yeah, and why are we still there? I guess the idea is just to maintain this toehold in case we need to pour forces into the region. We don't want to let go of whatever reduced presence we have there. And it's going to get really ugly if we decide we're going to operate against this anti-Israel axis from Iraq. And Iraq's going to turn into the Iraq of the occupation of George W. Bush's occupation all over again. And they'll be trying to fight a war from there, right? While at the same time, they're stuck on their bases. And these bases, by necessity, they'll employ a bunch of Iraqi citizens. It's impossible to keep the Iraqi spies and the occasional terrorist out of these bases because they have to hire so many locals whenever we set up these bases. Tom Anderson makes a good point. I would rather have 100 million low IQ Mesoamerican Indios here than 10 million high IQ Indians and Chinese. Yeah, and that's why, this sort of libertarian, kind of from the right, legal immigration of capable, intelligent people is actually maybe the worst position of all. I love my Mexicans. And I wouldn't call them low IQ, but their average IQ is a little lower than your average HOAD here. But they come from a Christian background, and they're not inherently political people. I'm sorry, they're just not. And they're people who will, politically, are pretty mild and will just, they just want, good government, I guess, or they will take the gibs. They will avail themselves more readily, perhaps, of government handouts and stuff. But at the same time, if they have to work, they work, and they do work. And it's not BS to say there is at least a strong work ethic among these people. They're just not super creative people. They're not high IQ people. They're about average IQ people, frankly, but they do have a good work ethic and they do well in a lot of middle class jobs and a lot of technical jobs and stuff. They actually do quite well. Not just, what we think of this cliche that the, laborers and the gardeners and construction workers and that. Anyway, I like them, and they can be. Because I grew up in California, and there was always a significant Mexican population where I grew up. We got along, and we would get along much better in a different environment. If the political class wasn't just trying to split us repeatedly, because there is some resentment on that side, to the extent they become politically aware, the resentment builds about, the Mexican-American War and this used to be our, at least the southwestern U.S., it used to be ours as Mexicans and all this horse shit. But again, most Mexicans are quite willing to forget about that and just be good Americans. I know people don't want to hear that. Because as racist as I am, I reject the racist interpretation I see being taken up by the cucks, the pro-Zionist cucks, the people I've been talking about who are started gathering around Saylor, these younger guys who are gathering around Saylor. Some of them clever enough, and a lot of them intellectually pretentious, but they're gathering around Saylor and they're trying to douse the increasing flames of anti-Semitism by saying, no, not the Jews. They're our smartest, bestest white people. It's all those browns. We'll get into this Sunday, the ball of confusion. That's what we'll call it, in fact. A ball of confusion. And we're trying to unravel, how should I act? How should you act? With all these conflicting, crisscrossing interests and temptations, right? I know one thing, I am anti-Zionist, I am anti-JP. You know what that stands for, I hope. J-power, I am against, and I think we need to ultimately free ourselves from it, or we're just doomed. We're just doomed to second-class citizenship in our own countries, and that the dull horror that's being offered us by those Saylorites I mentioned and others. But at the same time, we have to fight back against the weapons of JP, and the weapons of JP are the hordes of blacks and browns. Who they are flooding our countries with, who is their own problem, though. They don't have control over these people, these, okay, call me a racist, but it's like setting animals loose on each other. You don't have control over, over wildebeests, or, you set a bunch of lions loose on a prairie. You don't really control them. You can kind of predict how they're going to act. Now we're in this stage where their golem, can golem also be plural? Their golems are, causing them problems, and we need to have to figure out how we can utilize that, and at the same time fight, and we have to kill the golem too. We have to kill the golem too. Yeah, the low IQ, the mestizos are, they're, the only threat we get from, I'll just stick with the Mexicans for now, because that's been in effect forever, and that was sort of the first immigration assault. The problem with them is so far they've been Democratic voters and they've been poor. So bringing them ensured a couple of things, and it bucked up the welfare state by bringing in more people who would need it, and it bucks up the Democratic Party and the progressive cause. because these people were dependably Democratic voters because of the welfare state. That's all getting a little complicated, but we still have to assume that they're going to get most of the votes of the mestizos, the Mexicans primarily, because of that. And that's going to empower the Democratic Party, which keeps, the dynamic in effect, the anti-white dynamic, the JP's very real goal of disempowering us in our own nations. It serves that. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 mestizos versus 1,000 Pajits is a very different sort of threat. And bringing in the Asians and the Indians who have this awful, on one hand they're very smart and very good at running things, and they will and ambitious. On the other hand, they're these dumb fucks, these dumb zombies, that just are so fine with serving the JP. Maybe they have their own ideas at the end of the day, but I think they're just such bitches regarding the JP. And you see the worst of them, like Nikki Haley, who became the absolute worst cuck regarding Israel, right? The supposedly conservative Nikki Haley. Anyway, I didn't mean to talk, actually. I was just going to come on and tell you guys, all right, I'm giving up on trying to do 10 o'clock weekdays. It's just, I cannot do it. At least not do it with any effectiveness, because every broadcast is going to be like this. I've got nothing and I just wing it. So, we're going to go back to Sunday, Bubba's Bible Study Sunday, and then maybe Wednesday and Sunday. Let's just say that and say 11 o'clock. We'll try that, all right? And join me Sunday. And we'll try and deal more intelligently and more coherently with these problems. No, Tom, I didn't see the recent fake news trying to gin up support for a war with Iran. I mean, they're always at it, right? They take a new tack. The last recent tack I saw them take was when they tried to tie Iran into Trump's attempted assassination. But now I think they're just more interested in ignoring, It's amazing, isn't it, how they managed to... You talk about the power of the media and the power of the people who control the media, that this remarkable thing, and it may be fake, I have no idea I mean, I think if the Trump assassination is fake, it's almost fake on behalf of Trump. It was just so ridiculous how it played out. And when they tried to get him off that stage, how he seemed to know he was safe. They seemed to know he was safe at that point, even though what anybody would be thinking was there is more than one shooter, or the shooter is not taken out, so we're not going to just stand there and pump our fists and, we're going to get the hell out of there. Anyway, I don't know what to think, but it's amazing how they just buried it. And it was, you got to admit, it was iconic. Whatever you think, maybe it's fake, but it was amazing, an amazing fake then, if that Trump was able to stand there with his fist raised when the blood streaks and do that. And how that's just forgotten. It's like it never happened. I mean, it took them like 2 days. I don't think they ever, there was nobody on that side who sort of acknowledged, all right, the guy was in danger. And also, you got to be impressed by his response. Nothing. They just, nah. A few of them are like disappointed, openly disappointed that it didn't come off. Or still trying to downplay what happened. And imagine if that was one of their guys on their side, and we would still be hearing about it. They would be talking about, they'd be raising statues. If somebody shot at Kamala Harris. Of course, if they hit her in the head, she'd be fine. It would not. It might actually clarify her thinking. It would be funny if she got hit in the head, and then all of a sudden she became this super smart person, and the word salads are gone, and all of a sudden she's the most cogent speaker in the world. That would be hilarious. Somebody needs to write that up as a comedy. All right, I'm done. You're done. You're all done. Thank you, Jay Walker and Tom Anderson. The rest of you silent bastards, all right, it's cool. You didn't have to talk. Yeah. Yeah, Tom, I guess I did see that. They claimed that some Pakistani man was sent off Bluff, to off Bluff. Yeah. You know, it just doesn't work. Yeah, like I said, I think at the end of the day, they were just more interested in burying it because it just helps Trump too much. Yeah, people do, I think. Hey, Judas. Hi. I didn't see you there. How are you, Judas? Welcome. It's so good to see you again after all these years. I hope you've been well. George W. ran on an anti-war platform, and then, yeah, that was another bait and switch, wasn't it? We just keep getting baited and switched. Trump does that too. I mean, it's always a bait and switch if you think about it. There's always a bait and switch. Yes, almost everyone underestimates the power of the media. It's arguably the most important thing out there. Yeah, it still steers things. It shouldn't. It shouldn't in this day and age when you've got alternatives, you know. It shouldn't in this day and age when, you know, anybody who's been reading media for any length of time sees it, yet it remains effective. And it's, you know, it's you young people that you don't know yet, and you're all hormones and emotion, and your little brains are barely developed, and you don't have any experience. I mean, just everything goes against, works against you having any goddamned wisdom. And there you are, all emotional and stupid, with all the energy in the world, just waiting to be manipulated. You little fuckers, you shouldn't be able to vote until you're 30. And I don't want to hear you talking about boomers anymore. I'll throw your ass off the roof if you talk to me about boomers ruining everything, where you're actively ruining everything. You know, you produce Harry Sisson and waves of these young, dumb women who are, you know, actively destroying things by supporting Kamala Harris or whatever. Just shut the fuck up. And we'll end on that. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Judas. We'll see you guys Sunday. Come back Sunday, 11. That's it. That's what we're going with. Bubba's Bible Study. All right. Goodbye.